Last week, our focus was on unmasking fraud, and we shared packages from different parts of the country. We also brought experts to lend their voice to this very important issue, and we are unrelenting because it happens online, on dating sites. It also happens when people are trying to get jobs and they don't know it's a scam. Sometimes they are asked to part with their resources. Well, we are saying on Weekend Deal that all that must stop. Our focus today is security consciousness. When we talk about Nigeria's security, we refer to the security of the lives and property of over 200 million citizens of this great country. Many of us often say security consciousness. We're learning today that more of us say or believe or act out security awareness rather than its consciousness. In our background feature, as Francis sets the tone with Dr. Eworum Chidi, he begins to tell us about the difference between those two and reminds us to be observant as well as vigilant.
There is a very great difference between security awareness and security consciousness. No, what we are experts in security awareness, but we are not very much security conscious. Everybody knows that rifle or gun, pistol can kill. Now, you are aware, but are you conscious of it? The only way you can know that you are not conscious of it is that you can collect your personal pistol now and keep it on your bed where children are, assuming they go there and pick it. Another practical aspect is you are living in a house. In the night, maybe you haven't gone out to drink and you are fatigued, you are stressed up. You just lie down on your bed after eating. And somebody will knock at the door. Pop, 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 pop. And you say, John, a child of 4, go and open the door. You are not security conscious. I'm talking of individual and the family security, because if the families are secured, the entire country are secured. Now, you keep everything, digger, all those things, ladder, and you go to sleep. Assuming these bad boys access into your house. One, they use the ladder to gain entry into your house. Where they find difficult, they will use the axe to do something that will make them access you. Before you go to bed, no matter how stressed up you may be, go around your compound, see whether the various doors have been locked and not leaving it for your wife or your children to do. Hey, please, all of you should lock everywhere you go in. As a man who is security conscious, who is not only security aware, should be able to go, when everybody has gone, you go around, see if there is any ladder outside, you remove it, tuck it somewhere, or you put it in a store. Hide it, because they may be instrument of destruction to you. We have to start at that level. Generally, people are not security conscious in this country. You are moving along the road, and you find out that the road is lonely, and you are still driving at top speed. Maybe the road is clear now. you should have some psychology. There's what they refer to as road psychology. Now the road you apply, why is it that vehicles are not coming and they are not going? You are the only one going. You have to slow down, think about it. If you are not comfortable with it, you reverse and go back. There are so many examples. We have to start from our homes. We have to educate our children. And above all, my recommendation is that there should be curriculum that will be developed in such a way that the issue of insecurity should be taught there. Security consciousness and security awareness should also be taught so that when they get back home, they will be applying it. And of course, procuring technology, very important, very good technology that will help us. To make sure you don't enter any vehicle that is not registered. So, and there should be designated places, not this, everywhere in Abuja is parked. Lugwe, and people will jump in, only to be robbed at that deserted area. When you are entering a taxi, you see a woman and you see a man. Those who will cause the havoc will be somewhere. As soon as you enter, they will tell you to shift as if passengers, the vehicle is full. And you enter. In less than 5 or 6 posts, they can take you to a unknown destination and ask you to call people. Or they ask you to get what you have. If you don't have, they might treat you. And these are some of those things. So we need to be a little bit and more careful in the vehicles we enter.
Weekend Deal today is captioned Security Consciousness.
Sometimes we say security is the business of security agencies or perhaps government at different levels. But remember, we used to have one promo that used to say, when you see something, you best say something. Nowadays, it's more pertinent than ever before because what you see and what you share could be what will save the lives and property of many Nigerians. We're going to Lagos where there's talk about being streetwise. How streetwise are you? We'll get more details as we share this package with you.
With a population of over 26 million people in Lagos, said to be the third largest megacity in the world, also has its fair share of security challenges like any other megacity. Some of these crimes range from area boys, petty robberies, armed robberies, one-chance vehicles, and drug or substance abuse. Residents, therefore, must navigate the streets of Lagos wisely.
When you know that I won't give opportunity for me to be a victim, then you are more streetwise, you are more conscious on the street. If not only on the street, even in your home, in your house. Mostly when you're talking about one-chance vehicles, it's mainly maybe very early in the morning, between the hours of 6 o'clock and 7:30. And in the evening. You can always guess if someone is having a kind of evil mind by mere looking at the person.
You need to check who and who is at the bus stop with you. How are they dressed? Do they look suspicious by virtue of not necessarily wanting to enter a vehicle? Because the pickpocket people and the people who are just out there to use razor blade, cut your bag, take your valuables, people who just want to point a gun at you and say, submit your phone, they are not entering a bus. They are at the bus stop. That laptop you are taking home, you will most likely not even open it or use it when you get home because you're tired, you want to rest. So why go home with laptop every day? So why don't you just leave the laptop at home?
With a popular slogan, Eko Gbagbere, meaning Lagos takes no nonsense, it is advisable for migrants to be smart, fast-thinking, and very cautious in the streets of Lagos. A case of watch before you leap. You must be streetwise or learn the hard way. Stakeholders shed light on recognizing crime-prone areas, how to identify criminals and their activities.
Places like My 2, places like My 12, places like Oshodi. places like Mushin, places like Itire, Ijesha area. All some of those places are prone to street robberies, snatching of phones, and even some of them are prone to cult activities. A back rider, people use it now to ferry drug.
Over time, the state government has combated various criminal activities in and around the metropolis, but more proactive measures still needs to be taken to rid Lagos streets of miscreants.
People come to Lagos, a place like Lagos, with the hope that they are going to get job. But they can't, they cannot get anything, they cannot get any job. So if government tries as much as possible to provide jobs, opportunity for people, crime rate will reduce.
The areas that have been identified as being where these developments are prevalent, we are trying to pull together our professional experiences in order to support them, both in terms of the strategy to be applied, in terms of assets mobilization and deployment, human and material and operational assets that could be deployed, and logistics.
Security consciousness has continued to block opportunities for threats, street gang, or any other adversary to perpetuate criminal activities. It is therefore imperative that everybody should be security conscious.
Everybody should be security conscious. We now know there's something called security awareness and there's something called security consciousness. So, which side of this very interesting divide do you belong? Let's welcome our experts today. You know, they will drive the train during this discourse. Brigadier General Saleh Bala, retired president and founder, White Ink Institute for Strategic Education and Research in Abuja. Great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Onyekachi Adekoya is a security expert. Great to have you join us.
Thank you for having me,
today.
and good morning to the viewers.
We're talking about security consciousness. Now we hear a new one, security awareness. Why are we hearing it about now? Has it been there for a while, but it's because there are rising incidences of crimes and criminality that this has been birthed? Brigadier General retired, please.
This subject of security, I think we the elites make it more and more academic. Such academic that it is confusing the very basic recipients of the communities, which includes all of us, of what security is all about. There is the essence of breaking down security from the state-centric perspective. When security is addressed to the state, you are now thinking about forces, about the military, about the police, and the intelligence agencies. But when you are talking about such kind of security that people will be conscious about and aware, is firstly about their personal security and safety, which ultimately translates and expands into their community and to the larger extent. So security in the new paradigm of thoughts now, it's about the security of the citizen, the safety and well-being of the person.
Okay, let's chat with you now. Now, in times past, people will say, it's not my fault now. Something happens in the neighborhood. Perhaps they noticed some suspicious movement, but they felt, after all, there's security agencies here, it's their work. But I know for a while we had some promos were running on several channels saying, when you see something, you say something. Many people find it quite challenging to speak because they say when they speak, the people or the person who spoke, it gets back to the miscreants and then they feel their lives are endangered. Where are we now when we talk about our personal, individual security, especially in residential areas?
When you talk about awareness, it's about the individual, the context, the environment, the society, the threats. And then when you look at our threat environment, you look at the fluidity of threats.
And you look at the global space, there's chaos everywhere. There's chaos in Ethiopia, there's problem in Mali, in Burkina Faso. We have issues in Niger, we have issues in Nigeria here, there's issue in Ukraine. So the world seems to be in a state of perpetual flux. Things are moving quite fast. We can also argue that we're also in an information age where news travel very fast. So it just shows that no matter where you are, where you travel to, you must maintain a level of self-consciousness to become aware of your environment, to know the threats pervading your space, and then know what to do.
Thank you very much, Onyekachi. Brigadier General Bala. Nowadays, we're being asked not just to be more vigilant, but to be aware and also to take our personal security as a daily mantra as we step out of our homes every day. Where are we with that? Before we get to security agencies or vigilante groups or community policing, where are we with our personal vigilance? And how does how vigilant you are or you become impact on you, perhaps your family and your environment?
Safety and security for a human being is second nature, even from the structure of your physiology. That's why we have eyelashes. That's why we have eyelids. That's why we have lips. We have gums. That's why we have hair. And all by nature, we care about taking care of these things because these are things that secure our vital parts and ensure that they are safe. This was why in my opening I spoke about safety and security and its awareness being two sides of the same coin. There are acts that are instinctive, like the blinking of the eye, in order to protect it. Okay? There are further things you do as not to leave your house at X time of the day because the sun is hot. Or even allow your children to go out to play in the sun. So basically, the point I'm trying to make is that security, consciousness, awareness, or whatever synonym you will apply to that is second nature.
Our discussion continues because sometimes while we're discussing about this, it ought to be second nature. We ought to listen to our intuition, but there are cases and incidences where insecurity holds sway, perhaps because we let down our guard or we allowed unfamiliar faces to come and take hold of our community or our area or our region. But we go to Asaba now in Delta State, where there's talk about the role, the impactful role that is of security agencies. Asaba, please share more.
Insecurity is a global menace, eating deeply into the facets of most societies in the world today. In Nigeria presently, the increased rate of crimes such as robbery, drug trafficking, and more is alarming, and this is where the Nigerian security operative plays its vital role in combating crime and protect citizens.
The security agencies, by their constitutional right, their role essentially is more like securing every person, but then doing it in a responsible manner. By this we mean that when you're trying to secure a person or the society, you must not do it to the detriment of those you are trying to secure, because what we see most times is that in the process of law enforcement officers trying to prevent crime, we see them also committing crime because sometimes they don't do it professionally.
In reducing or solving the insecurity problem, different schools of thought advocate government policies on affordable living to the citizens, reorientation of the masses on survival through hard work, as this dignifies and stand them out and not through crime.
Crime can be combated, but I think one of the biggest problems we have in our society is that we think combating crime is solely the responsibility of law enforcement agents, which is not true. To combat crime, you need everybody.
To address this crime or crime control in Nigeria is all about welfare. The security agents' welfare needs to be well taken care of. They need to increase their benefits.
The security operatives should be strengthened to carry out their duties in a well-equipped and careful manner to avoid negative effects of stray bullets and misfortune endangering innocent citizens like it happened recently in Asaba, ending the life of an innocent promising 2-year-old Ivan Omoriakobe, and injury to his sibling in his left eye.
My thoughts and prayers are with the family of Evans. It is not a crime against the state, not a crime against the family of Evans. And I expect that immediately we have Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General, they should look into that case and bring whoever that fired that weapon to justice.
Security consciousness of the masses is imperative. Policing one's environment, reporting to security agencies any form of crime and criminality around one's vicinity remains sacrosanct.
Why do you think I'm going to start reporting them when the general opinion is to celebrate them, to give them chieftaincy title, to invite them when you want to do harvest in your church, to invite them when you have one religious program to do? So, who is going to report who now?
Citizens must know that first, they are the first point of call when you want to prevent crime, because they know these criminals. The criminals reside amongst us. What we find in our society is that people don't report crimes or report criminals, because when people commit crimes, you see what sometimes people try to do is they try to shield the people and say, no, let's settle it out of court, let's not get the police involved.
If you look at our security apparatus, there are faults here and there. The recruitment process be based on what you have upstairs. The ability to see somebody from your conviction and instinct, you'll be able to say, yes, this person is up to something.
Security business is a concerted effort between the citizens, government, and security operative, as this cannot be left to one party or group, for prevention is better than cure.
We can't overemphasize that prevention is always better, safer, more reliable than cure, because the cure is sometimes we say it's medicine after death, especially in matters of security. Brigadier General retired. Somebody said in Asaba now that a human rights activist said sometimes the lapses that impact negatively on citizens and by association their security is because there's the welfare is not adequate. What is your take on that?
Yes, having been a military officer and having been a public officer and also a citizen, I am very well aware that human desires are insatiable and that resources of a state are limited. And it is out to very competing demands. And to the best extent that any nation can, a nation will prioritize and provide to the extent that it could. I am not saying that it is well and adequate for our security forces. Much more can be done. But also, we have to challenge ourselves to the management of the resources that are available to our security forces, from the defense to the security and safety forces. There is a lot more to do. Indeed, there is a lot more to do.
Thank you very much, Brigadier General. Onyekachi, it's over to you. Brigadier General has taken us to a point. Perhaps the real question on the ground is the welfare so inadequate that the police or security agencies cannot make the requisite impact where they ought to? Should that be at the forefront of their services? After all, some will argue that salaries are paid. What you get as allowances, shouldn't be the main. Should that be their main focus? What are citizens of Nigeria saying when you come in contact with them?
So there are a number of problems that the police have, even that the military also have. What a serving officer will not do is to come on national TV and tell you that these are the problems that they have. General talked about the composition of a security convoy. What is the basis for that composition sometimes? I think it may be threat specific. It may be context specific again. You may be traveling to a high risk area. You may also be traveling to a low risk area, but then you have a threat hanging over your head. You have to then judge what is the threat against what you have to provide for. So sometimes we have to couple some of these things. So there are considerations for it. Okay. Remember that any Nigerian can apply for protection if you feel threatened. But the point that General makes is very valid, that we don't have enough police.
Such that one person can have 15?
No. Again, let's not do the academics, let's be threat specific. If the threat warrants 15, in pursuance of certain interests of the state, context again, yes, it gets 15. Okay. But the point is, we are 220 million people. The police claims they have 300,000 people, but we've seen that the mortality rate of the police is high. Their recruitment drive has not been relatively high over the years, so we can't even judge and say they have 300,000 police as we speak. Ideally, we should have over 550,000 policemen, modestly speaking. So you don't have enough police. There's an over-dependence on the federal police. Policing, sensible policing, has to draw from the grassroots, some bit of local initiative. So you have to take policing local.
Okay.
Yeah, so until we change some things. And lastly, what's the budget of the police? 400 and something billion. Over 90% goes on recurrent, 10% for capital. The 10% for capital, budget and budget release are two different things. They also don't get it. So there are a number of issues.
Okay, you seem to have a lot of information about their budget and all of that. Okay, we want to bring it home to individual, community, local areas, and perhaps the impact that community policing can make. And that's why we're going to Plateau State. Let's talk about the role of community policing. Perhaps, they have the help sometimes of vigilante groups. But Joss, what did you find? What is happening in Plateau? Please share with us.
Creating a partnership between law enforcement and residents is an integral part of human endeavors, which plays an important role in controlling violations and maintaining discipline in the society. In Plateau State and beyond, to enhance security at the grassroots and neighborhood level, there is need for community policing to improve the quality of life of people in a community in the best possible way.
In the state so far, since we came into board, everywhere in the community you go, you will hear about the activities of hunters. Like for instance, you go to Dong, 2 years back you will hear Dong attack. Since we have been there for about 2 years now, the last time we were there, we spent 11 days there. After that one, we established hunters there. Since that time up to now, you cannot hear about Dong attack again.
From last year to this year, the vigilante, they have assisted the government in combating crime, more especially in Kanam, Wase, which I know the vigilante group arrested so many of the bandits.
The community know who is who. They know people they can vouch for. Those are the people, whether it is vigilante group, whether it is neighborhood watch, whether it is community police. It is getting people that have the interests of their community at heart.
The model adopted by the Nigerian Police Force in its pilot divisions has successfully integrated many policing concepts into a fully functional model of community policing.
A criminal is a criminal, whether he's an Ijaw man, or he's a Plateau man, or he's a Rigwe man, or he's a Fulani, whatever tribe that person carry. We are not looking at your tribe. A criminal is a criminal. Call the criminal his name and leave the tribe alone. A criminal is a criminal. Call the criminal his name and leave the religion alone. So all of us must learn to bring out a criminal for who he is. Somebody will defile a child and you say because it's from one religion or the other, you will keep quiet. That is how they will do. They will keep quiet on their own. You are just destroying that your religion. Because that person, if he's a pedophile, and if that is his lifestyle, he will still go and commit another one again. So don't waste your time covering somebody who is not ready and willing to change. And don't cover anybody who has committed a crime.
The need for building trust for safer neighborhood cannot be overemphasized, as it is an important organizational strategy that gives communities a better chance to define their security. Therefore, safety in its wider sense concerns the happiness, contentment, and freedom of mankind.
Beyond a lot of explanations, either regular or irregular, or things you don't hear most of the time, what is important is that when you are safe, you can be productive. When you are safe, you can enhance the economy. You can go about with your business, with your work, and your family is happy. And when we are unsafe, a lot of things happen that impact negatively, not just on citizens or families or communities, but on the entire nation. So the aim now, first, is to identify what births insecurity, and then again, how can we address it? As we wrap up with Oyekachi in our discourse today, we just heard what happened in Jos. They said people should be able to define the kind of security that their community needs, so that it can enhance what is on ground. How practical is that? Perhaps in terms of vigilante, and we've heard about hunters as well.
It's very practical. So we talk about all of society approach to security. It's very important. What I think that we don't do enough in the country is security education. And that's what we need to begin to do a bit more. We assume a lot. An assumption is an enemy of any drilled plan. So when you train people on security, you can keep them in a drilled state. And then sometimes we also need to run security drills again. You see, maybe do a fire drill, active shooter drill, different drills. What I think that we need to begin to do differently is for the governments. In social studies, when we did social studies, we learned a lot through social studies. The government must find innovative ways, because the problems of insecurity it is here. It's a global phenomenon. It's not going anywhere. Society has changed. There would always be insecurity. The US, South Africa are not necessarily safer than Nigeria. And I'm coming back on security education because this is where it starts for us.
It should be done in the classrooms?
No, it should be done all of society.
Okay.
In the
churches,
the churches should have programs, invite security experts to do a training. The government should put their workers in a place. Most organizations in Nigeria do what is called a security orientation brief for their private staff. If the private sector is doing this, government should also do it. Yes, the responsibility of government is security and welfare. Security education is also a part of that responsibility. And no, security education should not stop with only those in law enforcement. If you expect society to collaborate with law enforcement, then you need to also educate them on what that collaboration should look like. Indeed. And what the channels of the collaboration would be. Indeed. And how to report. So you see people calling 911. How do you report a 911 incident? How do you help the responder to map what you're going through and then locate the nearest point of help to you? So there's a lot of work I think that the National Orientation Agency has to do.
What about vigilante? And we heard in that feature, hunters.
Yes.
Says since they arrived in a certain area, there's been no crime for almost 2 years. And then again, the people who are in that community ought to identify. No matter how ready the security agency is, without knowing who the criminals are, there will be little or no success.
That's why I say there has to be a handshake. It must work. There has to be a
deeper synergy.
So the people need to know what to report when they see and where to report into.
And how to do it. Okay.
So the handshake between, because if you look at Maiduguri, for example, without a civilian JTF, some of the successes, it may have been delayed, it may have happened, but they play a significant role. You look at Kebbi, for example. Kebbi had a very good vigilante structure. For some reason, they disbanded. They started having issues. They're now trying to, again, recouple again. So There's a place for everybody.
We need to
That's the
wrap
point.
up.
Yeah.
We need to wrap up. Your final words? What's your final word?
For me, I think we need to do more in educating our people on security, and it has to be all of government, all of people approach. So once we bring up the level of understanding of the citizen, his role and that of the government in security, maybe we can address some of this better.
Nigerians will be more willing to speak up and speak out. Thank you very much, Oyekachi Adekoya, founder, Aquiline Intelligence and Defense Consulting.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you on Weekend Deal, talking about security. It can be personal, it can be community-based, and of course, security agencies have their role. Our second break beckons on Weekend Deal. Don't go away. Our program is interactive, by the way. You already know that. Please send in your experiences. Tell us what's happening in your part of Nigeria so we can share, and the experts on ground perhaps can have one or two solutions they'll proffer. Don't go away. There are incidences where people, because they lower their guard or they're not observant or vigilant, they experience some level of insecurity. Not that people come to their homes, but while they're out there, you know, in their daily movements, they encounter challenges. And this kind of security challenges or security breach gets them robbed of their valuables like your phone, your ATM card. So we thought, oftentimes we talk, you know, we bring experts to talk, and the talk continues. We thought, let's throw more enlightenment in a creative pattern. And we here at the NTA, the Directorate of Programs, put this together. And our creative skill is at top gear. We know you will learn something from this. Please watch and enjoy a journey of tales.
Yeah. One chance. Go, Suleja, Buhari, Kuba. More go. One chance. One chance, so Suleja. One chance. Let's go.
Shift now.
Shift to where, madam?
To where? Now who be this person for this car now? Shift, John.
To where now? What's your problem?
Calm down. Now what did they do you?
Just calm down.
You think say I not get bus for house?
Even those that don't have wheelbarrow will come here and make noise.
I bet shift to get some for house.
Get out, John.
I not blame you.
Talk to them now.
Madam.
I get her made for house now.
Calm down now.
Shift to where? Hey.
Oh yeah, I keep quiet now. Now you not date this boss.
Just come and be making noise. Every time I have bus, I have this. Wheelbarrow they don't have. Bicycle.
I bet, come on, John.
Rubbish. Time to come and be making noise, disturbing people.
I not blame you.
Who blame you too, madam?
I get bus for house.
Bring your
and I get your mates.
Rubbish.
I bet shift.
Excuse me. Let me carry my phone. People that are quarreling.
For this bag.
I took public transport.
It delayed us for our boss. Imagine journey allowed us to. If you see five for my table, I'll be
I'll get you money. Maybe in the next 30 minutes. I think we need to ask.
Wait, Grandma!
You may not deny your house. So now you must get ready between now and
At the close of the program, we'll still give you some insider gist on that drama. But for now, let's welcome another guest, Dr. Ahmed Adamu Chiroma, Deputy Secretary, Presidential Think Tank on Defense and Security. Great to have you join us on Weekend Deal.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being with you.
Security consciousness is our focus. Thank you. And of course, Brigadier General Salih Bala retired. You know, he's been here, and we continue our discourse. While we're seeing that drama, while we're watching that drama and enjoying it, and talking about the skill of NTA staff, you know, you were so inspired and impressed by what they put on show. You talked about that, the fact that the home has a lot of impact on what citizens become. That the home has a big role to play.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Fine. Basically, like the regular phrase people used to say, security is everybody's business, charity begins at home, and all of that. I don't think people always tend to appreciate the real issue behind those phrases. You see, you can only appreciate security concern if you looked at it from the basis. And what is that basis?
Excuse me.
From home. Because whatever a human being at an adult stage exhibit in terms of conduct, in terms of his disposition, generally has to do with the values that he got from home. So parents are the foundation of what adult used to be. And what do? They promote positive values as well as discipline into children. That's what translates to honesty, sincerity, commitment, and all
integrity.
All things that has to do with positive values. And that is what they normally exhibit at adult stage. So now, can we really say parents are discharging that responsibility?
Okay, hold the thought there. Hold
Yeah.
the thought there. Let Brigadier General take it from here. I know, no doubt, you are a father. You've raised very responsive and responsible children, and now this is on the table. Obviously, what we're saying, the level of insecurity now has taken us back to where these children, or where these criminals emerged from. Many of them came from families. And we know that in times past, we're not even called by our names. It's not Thelma they will talk of. They will say, that's Obaze's daughter, or that's Aikomu's daughter, or that's Onobu's daughter, or that's Ogbe's son. You know, are we able to say that now with pride and dignity?
You will recall that I spoke about fundamentally, you know, the security challenges we are facing today are basically out of rural crimes and urbanization with semi-urban cities. And indeed, a human being is akin to his or her environment. So as more as we urbanize, we grow into bigger elites.
Yes.
And those of us who are elites are so focused on our urban elite environment, and we forget really those rural areas that use in our own times to be the focus of development.
Okay.
So the issue of security is viewed from a very elite lens, and urban security is where the most investment of human, not should be made.
Okay.
That is now where you find the most concentration. And that is why our rural areas, the rural routes, to a point, you are not safe to travel between Abuja, which is the political capital, and Kaduna, which is the de facto military capital of Nigeria.
Okay.
That stretch of road is okay.
Not everyone is secure when they travel it. Okay, we have a feature. My producer is telling me to bring this in at this time that talks about child security. That is, how secure are our children as they grow up? Because if a child is insecure, it already starts to bring about traumatic concerns from an early age. Every adult or guardian around young children has a responsibility to make that child feel secure in a particular environment. Well, Shikiola Ikpenaye has been talking about this, and there's a call for enhanced security around our young children as they grow up, whether it be at home or in the community. Shike, please share. What did you find?
Security remains one of the major challenges of our time, a global phenomenon confronting the world. In the face of this, children are most vulnerable, being the most victims of the ugly situation.
Safety is not just only physical safety. There's the emotional safety, there's the social safety. So children can find themselves being unsafe in an environment where, for instance, there's war, there's crisis, there is conflict, and apart from the war, the conflict, a child can also feel unsafe in an environment where there's no love, when there's no care, where they feel rejected, That is also another aspect. A child can feel unsafe in an environment where there's a lot of kidnapping, in an environment where you see that there's no security measures put in place, anything just happens, anything goes within the environment, there's no safety rules, there's no security measures, there's no protocol in terms of security for the child. The child can feel unsafe in that situation. A child can also feel unsafe when they're in the environment where children are not appreciated, where they don't care about children, they only focus on the adults. You can be in a particular group or in a particular social setting where the focus is more on the adult and not on the child. They can feel unsafe in such situation because they know that in terms of effort, in terms of commitment to taking care of children, they don't have, in terms of even budgeting for children, they don't have, and yet they have an environment where it's placed for children. A child can feel unsafe in that situation. A child can also feel unsafe when they keep hearing news constantly about crisis, kidnapping, violence,
The onus therefore lies on the society to find some best strategies for child's protection and safety, which is deliberate at ensuring the child's well-being in this most challenging time.
A child must feel safe around you. You are the first safety measure in terms of becoming their secure base. So if a child is in danger or if a child is afraid, they have someone they can run to. You as an individual become the secure base. So if a child does not feel safe around you as adult, it's already a major problem. You understand, for the child in himself. Because the safety is not just what is happening around the environment, it's also what is happening within the child also. Because when the child is not safe within, no matter the measures you put around within the environment, yet it might have some level of impact, but it's not solving the problem in terms of it's not giving a lasting solution to that particular problem.
In this, the home has a great role to play.
Even from the home, as little as, first of all, creating an environment that is safe, and now teaching the child safety. Because, for instance, you can't create an environment that is unsafe and you want to teach the child safety. Those two do not go together. You want to also teach them how to lock the door when they come into the house. All those little things, the security light, everything that has to do with security, and at least the basic security principles or protocol. You want to teach the child beginning from the home. Once you start doing that, they enter the car. You tell them, oh, there is security lock. You lock the car immediately you enter. All those little things are important.
The need to raise child's consciousness about safety in the early stage is most important. An infusion of security consciousness in school's curriculum may just be in the right direction.
As long as the child can start speaking, can start communicating in plain language, and they can understand you can understand the child, then you can start teaching the child. Let's put it in our curriculum in school. Let's teach it at home. Let's teach it in our religious environment. As many places we can, because security is important for the child. And let's remember, I'm not just talking of only the physical terms of security. There's also the emotional security. There's what called child protection. Every school must have a policy on child protection. How you protect the emotion of the child, you protect the physical health of the child, you protect the mental health of the child, you protect every aspect of the child.
Worthy of note, however, is the resolve by the Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to raise schools protection squad to secure lives and property in schools across the country. It is believed that this will go a long way in stemming the tide of kidnappings and insurgent attacks such as witnessed in some schools in the past in some parts of the country.
It is indeed a fact that in many schools nationwide, we have had incidences of kidnapping. You know, how, why, where, and the who, you know, still remains, it's still being unraveled as we speak. And it was something that was an anomaly when we were growing up. It was a no-no, you know. Everybody knew who came to pick you from school. You know, they knew the car they drove, if a car came at all, if it was your mother, your father, your elder brother. But in these days, you know, there seem to be wide gaps in our security network, even the informal security network. Dr. Ahmed, wrap up our conversation. Before you wrap up, someone is saying here that many people are not even aware, they don't have the police number to call in times of any security breach or challenge, and that security agencies should place more emphasis on ensuring that their numbers where they can be reached, so that can offer services to the state community, should be made more available. They're also thanking you, Dr. Ahmed, for your contribution on the show today, talking about the home. Give us your final words.
Well, first of all, to reinforce what Brigadier General Bala said, there is no way, in the first place, you even isolate security from development, because development is security. Likewise, security is development. So you cannot, there is no way you
separate the two.
Then, two, now this thing, we have to be conscious of what is even this security. It seems a lot of our emphasis lies on manifestations of insecurity, which is the banditry, the insurgency, armed robbery, and all other things. But the root causes, the drivers, the facilitators, the motivators are not being discussed. In as much as our emphasis is only on the manifestations, this insecurity is just like having a seed, and you go to a farm or any this thing, you plant a seed, and it germinates, it grows, and it now produces fruits. And it's those fruits that people, if eat, they die. So much emphasis is, how do we cut these fruits?
Okay.
Without, you know, how do we even stop, you know, getting the availability of these seeds,
So
or
tell
even
us.
providing the enabling environment?
Okay. We want to thank you very much. It's a whole gamut of talk, and different spiral-headed things are growing up and sprouting. But we are bringing it home to us as parents, as guardians, as neighbors, to do the needful. I also opened this show talking about that program, or the promo, where they always said, when you see something, say something. You ignore something you see at the detriment of your neighborhood or your community. We want to thank you, Brigadier General Saleh Bala, retired, President and founder, White Ink Institute for Strategy Education. That's strategic?
Strategy education.
The strategy education and research in Abuja. It's been great chatting with you. When I saw you, I said, retired, you look so young. Thank you for lending your expert opinion on our discuss today on Weekend Deal. Thank you. Dr. Ahmed, we know you. You've been here. Thank you so much for what you brought to the table, the role of guardians and parents, and the neighborhood. Thank you. We continue to do better and share better. You are watching Weekend Deal. We talked about security consciousness for the better part of our show today. And we've had several experts lending their expert opinion. They are all parents, they are all guardians, they are all Nigerians, and they are patriots themselves. So we must listen, we must learn, and we can then apply. The most vital message we're taking away today is that security is your business. Mind your business, mind your security from the home. Involve your family, do it in your neighborhood, do it in your community, do it in the state. And when you see something, do say something. God bless Nigeria. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.